Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome to my channel. Today is time for Oh So Inspired, which is a collaboration or creative team of Alicia's at Call Me Crafty Owl. We get together once a month on the 19th and we case the same card. And this month is made by Megan K. So I grabbed a bunch of 6x6 paper pads. This month I'm making cards for my local public schools, just encouragement cards for kids. And I went through my 6x6 paper pads and I grabbed some random sheets like these and different paper pads. This one really reminded me of the card that we're casing. I didn't use it today. I just grabbed it because I thought, well, this one would be perfect if you wanted to make something exactly like what we're inspired by. But I took the card and turned it into a sketch and used up a bunch of my 6x6 paper. So hang out with me. I'll tell you exactly what I did. And I even bust one of these paper pads, this thinner one here. So I'm going to use up a bunch of my own stickers and random things and make a bunch of cards today. So the first thing is I'm making an A2 card. And the background, the first thing I did was look at the card and kind of gauge what size I thought things were. And kind of just wrote down what, the different pieces and what measurement I thought that they might need to be just by eyeballing this card. So I have an A2 card. The background would be 4 by 5 1/4, so I can get a little border. The center strip 2 by 4, and then the back thin strip 1 by 4. And then I would have some scraps, and if I wanted to mat the sentiment, I could with the scraps. So I grabbed some paper, and the first thing I did was I took one sheet and kind of cut it down. And I started by cutting mine at 5 1/4, then 4. That's really not the way to go for 4x6 paper. And I know this in my heart of hearts, but I did it this way first. It's not that it's wrong, but you're just going to get less scraps if you do it this, or your scraps are going to be different. Let's just say that. They're not, like I said, it's not bad. You can totally make it work if you do it this way. But I prefer to cut it at 4, then turn it, cut it at 5 1/4. Then you have these two scraps. You take this piece and we're going to cut this 2-inch down to 2 by 4, and then cut this strip. I just have to cut the branding strip or piece off of it, and this kind of worked more ideally. So this is the way I cut all my paper for all of my cards today, besides those first two. So I cut it to 4 inches, turn it, cut it to 5 1/4. Then I automatically have this little strip, and then I take that 2 by 6 piece and cut it to 2 by 4, and then I have a 2 by 2 square. Which I ended up using those by the time I was done making all of the cards with this kind of sketch that I came up with based on the card that we're casing. Then I took all those 2 by 2 pieces and I turned those into cards as well. Now, I didn't have any matching ephemera for these paper pads, but I did have some sticker sheets and random pieces in my stash that I thought I could use. Here I'm going back to my notes and I'm just now writing out what I actually did. Like, I'm writing out better instructions for myself. So I'm saying 6x6 paper, cut it 4 inches, then cut it 5 1/4, cut the 2 by piece down to 2 by 4, use a small strip to go across the back of the card, and you'll have a 2 by 2 scrap. So I'm just making myself notes. Now, typically this would go in my journal. I have a crafty journal that I keep, and but I didn't have it handy that day, and so I just wrote it on a scrap piece of paper, and I'll transfer it later. And I might even put a card in there and put an example for myself in the future, so you can, certainly keep track of your ideas that way. And you could even maybe use some paper that you're not crazy about for making a sketch to go inside your journal. Just an idea. So I just laid everything out, alternated patterns, This paper pad here was all single-sided paper, so I just laid them out in piles and just kind of switched things up, switching out the various pieces and making sure that there was contrast and interest. I really liked this paper pad because I thought it would be good for teenagers and middle schoolers. So I used this paper pad. I also used that Sunny Studios paper pad. I hope they're still around. I don't know. I haven't heard Sunny Studios in a long time. But I used to love their paper. Sorry, don't mind me as I take a drink. My throat has been so sore this week. So yeah, you can see it's a very repetitive but very simple design. This would be a great card design for beginners. This is a great way to quickly use up your stash if you're like me and went through years of buying and hoarding 6x6 paper pads. This is a good way to cut them up and use them. So what I did is the same thing with just different paper pads. So once I get through one, then I take the next paper pad and do exactly what you saw before, separate all the pieces, and then go through and match them up. This paper was double-sided, so it kind of gave me more options. One thing I kind of messed up on this one was that I wasn't paying attention to the direction of my other side. So some of my hearts were cut, most of the heart pages were cut to be at like a horizontal orientation. So a couple of these cards I did turn and make them in a horizontal orientation. It's just a fun way to switch it up too, in case you get kind of bored making a bunch like this, mass making them. Like for this example, I just turned it, and the great thing is that 2x4-inch strip just fits like that, and I tucked the other strip to the side of it. And so this sketch is universal, whether you want to make vertical cards or horizontal cards. Either one would kind of work with these pieces. I'm sure you could incorporate that 2x2 piece, the scrap that was left over, into this card design as well. It was kind of something I gave some thought, but I was trying to stay true to our inspiration piece and not change it too much, which I know is unusual. For me, I'm usually changing it up quite a bit, but surely, you could mix that 2x2 piece in, and I'm just showing you different ways that you could lay out the orientation there as well. You don't have to keep it exactly. I'm just trying to stay true to our inspiration piece. So I glued all those down onto card bases, and then that's when I got all these random stickers. I mean, this Pink Fresh set, I don't even have the paper that goes to it. I think those are Amy Tangerine stickers. And I don't really use stickers, but I just have some in my stash. So I'm sure they came in a kit, a card making kit. Here are all the cards that I used. Now You've Got This and You Do You. Those are from Paper Smooches. It's a stamp set that I have. I used to love Paper Smooches so much. I loved their stamps, and so that's where that is from. An oldie but goodie. Like everything here today, these are all old paper pads, old stamps, and stickers, and no one will ever know the difference. I've got, I think, 25 cards that I can share now with the school district. I mean, I've been making more, but this was certainly a nice little stockpile here to make all at once. Here's how I use those 2x2 pieces on these cards. Some of them I kind of turned funky. This one I only put 2 on. So I really kind of just changed it up and played around. But I hope you feel inspired. And I know if you hop along, you will get inspired. There will be so many people for you to follow. Definitely look down in the description box. You'll find all the information that you need for this hop. That's how Oh So Inspired always is. There's a playlist. You just click on that playlist and you can see what everyone has made. I busted that paper pad. I used up as many stickers as I could. I did try to think about, there might be some sensitivities of what the school can pass out or not. So I did try to keep that in mind, but I used up as much as I could. And I'll have this sketch for you over on my website, bittypenny.com. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.